Welcome to Power Lunch Live. I'm Rhett Power, your host. It's good to be with you here on Tuesday. Hope you're staying healthy and sane. If you're still sequestered away, if not, if you're out and about, I hope you're staying safe. The Power Lunch, well, it's about having today's thought leaders, best-selling authors, CEOs, people who are doing amazing work in the world that we can all learn from and get better at what we do. Today is going to be no exception. I'm excited about today's conversation. Now, if you like the program, give it a like or share so that your network can benefit from these conversations. We are broadcasting on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, of course, and probably something else I'm forgetting. We do monitor these channels so that you can ask your questions. That's another thing that's fun about the program is that it's interactive. So please do get online and ask your questions. We monitor social while we're going here, and we try to get to your questions. Now, today is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about, is it the right time to start a business? I've got Angelique Rewers. Angelique is the CEO of The Corporate Agent. She has been called the undisputed champion of helping small businesses land big clients by Inc. magazine, and is really one of the nation's most trusted experts on winning corporate clients. She's recognized as an enterprising woman of the year. She's mentored entrepreneurs in 72 countries. She works with the leading Fortune 500 companies, been featured in Forbes, Inc., Huffington Post, the Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, CBS, and so many more. Angelique, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Rhett. I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, it's a delight, and we were just talking before we got on about it's hard to complain where we both are. You're down in Florida, I'm in Brazil. It's 80 degrees here constantly, and hard to complain about that. So I'm glad that you guys are staying safe and healthy. We are in some strange times, aren't we?
We really are. There's obviously a lot of things that are happening right now that are really challenging for folks. But we're also at a time where we have an opportunity to affect a lot of positive change in the world. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to do that when things are stuck in inertia. And I think more than anything right now, we've seen that we're not stuck in inertia. But there's all of these sort of outside forces that are requiring us to look at change everywhere from diversity and social change, dealing with racism here in the United States and around the world, finally, I hope. And also, in the medical space, in the business space, we're seeing it everywhere. It's pretty exciting in terms of the opportunity for positive improvement.
Well, you must have read my mind what my question was next for you.
Oh.
That was a perfect setup. But and I hate to say exciting, this is exciting, but in a sense, what is exciting you about what's going on in the market now? I know that there's a lot of pain, a lot of small, medium enterprises, a lot of big businesses are really suffering, and I get that. But what is the opportunity? What kind of opportunities are you excited about, or are you seeing out there?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I mean, I think the first one is on the diversity front. We had a landmark ruling come out of the Supreme Court here in the United States yesterday, which is just phenomenal. There's some debate as to, why certain justices voted and whether or not there's really any promise there. But the bottom line is there was a great ruling. That's bringing in a wave of change. And then what we're seeing through the marches, the protests, the rallies, the movement on social media, the conversations that are happening day in and day out, with us looking at how we have really not looked at our racism issues here in the United States. We really have not addressed it. And it looks like finally we might be able to do that in a lasting way. And there's obviously a lot of healing that's going to have to happen around that. But on the workplace front, just the amount of conversations that are happening on diversity are incredibly exciting. Do
you think this is the moment? Do you think this is the moment that we don't move it from one news cycle to a next. Do you think this is the moment for the change is really going to happen in that?
One of the reasons I think it's possible right now is because it's happening at the same time that we have digital social media the way that we do, and we have the younger generations who have been demanding this, but it's really coming together. As whenever we study history, right, nothing happens in isolation. There's always several waves of things that are creating the change. It's never just one thing. And I think tools like what we have right now, the fact that all of us have cameras in our hands and that we can instantaneously broadcast to the world what's happening, that's very powerful. We have two young generations, both in Gen Z and the millennials, that are really driving change. And so that's powerful. Consumers are starting to vote in bigger ways with their dollars. So whether companies necessarily believe some of the things they're saying or not, I don't know. You know, we're not inside anybody's head or their heart. But I think there's enough pressure coming from multiple places that we're going to see lasting change. But I'm an optimist by nature. And
Right.
so, but I do believe that change has to start with the belief that there can be change. That's sort of a prerequisite. So if we don't have a lot of optimists who believe, that's going to be a problem. But yeah, I do. I think this could be I think 2020 is turning into not just a watershed moment, but an entire watershed year.
You know, I think going back to something you just said about whether the company's meaning it or not, I get the sense that they're going to be held accountable if they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think that the old way of just sort of giving lip service to things, I think now you can be held accountable to it, you know, and I think that's a big difference now too, is that, you know, your employees and your customers are going to demand that, and they'll spend money with they'll spend their money with companies that actually do embrace these issues. And I think that's the change too. I think that's, you know, like you said, digital media and everything else, it gives us the ability. I mean, you see what happened at Amazon. I mean, a lot of employees, you know, forced the company to do better, right? And I think
you just read my mind. So I was just going to say that one of the big changes, Rhett, is on the employee side for many decades. So we work with consultants and experts who want to go in and work with companies and help them transform. And one of the places that there's a tremendous opportunity right now to help them transform is on the way that they talk to their employees, on the way that they treat their employees who are activists. Because the fact is that they're still operating, most corporations and even mid-market companies are operating with these 30, 40, 50-year-old paradigms where they feel that they can not only control the flow of information inside their organization, but that they also can restrain the voices of their employees, and that there's a chain of command and there's a proper way to share what you feel about the company, and you can't, you know, both keep your job and also go out on social media and talk negatively about the company. And companies like Amazon and Google and Facebook and every other company in the world has to throw that belief system, that paradigm, those outdated policies out the window. They don't work anymore. And if they don't figure out a new way to embrace the voice of their employees and really listen to their employees, which, by the way, would prevent them from having a whole lot of pain from a PR perspective and a consumer perspective, because their employees are really the canaries in the coal mine. And so if they were to embrace what those employees had to say before things escalated and became, you know, a media firestorm, they would do very well. But yeah, companies like Amazon and every other company out there that's operating from those antiquated playbooks really need to throw those out and start again. And in terms of opportunity right now, I think that's one of the big opportunities. I think we're in a place where companies can have to. It's not really even a choice, right? Most of us really don't make a change until we're forced to in life, right? I mean, we can look at our own behaviors, right? And so I think companies, they've resisted change. They can't anymore. The bottom line is they can't.
Yeah. Let's switch gears. I wanted to. Well, we got a lot of comments here. That's awesome. Thank you guys all. Fex, I don't know who Fex is, but hey, Fex, Gerard, hello. Fadi, thank you for being on. Anyway, so I wanted to ask you. We were talking about, is this the right time to become an entrepreneur, to start a business? What's your take on that?
So I'm one of those, folks that when is there a bad time to invest in real estate? Never kind of a person. When is a bad time to start a business? Never. But I think right now is an exceptionally good time. A lot of folks are going to find themselves becoming accidental entrepreneurs anyway, because they're going to be downsized, and we're going to see various waves of this. There's a lot of companies that have held off doing downsizing until June, July, August. So we're going to see continuous waves of this up and down. But right now you've got a lot of change, and change creates chaos. Chaos creates opportunity. And there's all of these things that are happening inside of companies that they've never had to deal with before. And we've spent the last 3-4 weeks talking to decision makers and senior leaders inside of companies, big and small, big corporations down to, smaller 300-person companies. And the thing is, there's no playbook for what they're dealing with right now. They are having to come up with solutions that they never needed before, that don't exist. They're not off the shelf. And so if you're smart and you pay attention to what companies are talking about, the challenges they're complaining about, there's this huge open opportunity to create a business right now that for a service or an area of expertise that honestly, even in, October, November, December of last year, no one was thinking about. So I think right now is a fantastic time, whether you're doing it on purpose or you are an accidental entrepreneur. You have a real opportunity to carve out a niche for yourself right now. And a lot of these changes are not temporary. These are not temporary things that we're looking at. These are going to be permanent shifts in how businesses and people operate. How
do you do that? So, I think that is right. I think when you have 40 million people unemployed, they're going to look, and in a job market like this, they're going to look to start a business or to try to turn that side hustle that they had into something. What are some steps that they can take? Like, what are some things that you could be doing, even if you're like you said, I think you're absolutely right. If you're in big corporate America right now, you probably were all right through that first couple of months, but the third quarter's coming, fourth quarter's coming. A lot of companies are delaying the inevitable until they readjust things, right? So there are more layoffs coming. There's no doubt about that. And so what can you start doing now? If you fall into that sort of category and you think, I'm not so sure what that's going to look like in 3 months or 2 months, what can you be doing now?
Well, I think it depends on if you're already out as that executive coach or that consultant, that business owner, or if you're still full-time employed and you're thinking, I might be either someone who's going to be let go, or I would be happy to raise my hand. There's a lot of people right now that actually should be stashing away a few months, of salary if they can, because companies are going to ask for volunteers at some point. And we have a lot of clients over the years who they took that moment of raising their hand and saying, pick me, let me go. I'll take the 6-month severance, and I'm going to use that as my runway to get my business started, which is a very smart thing to do. So I think one is, understand where you are and what you really want, so that you can build a strategy. Either way, though, one of the things you have to remember, rule number one in business, is always follow the money. Don't start a business in my opinion, just because you're passionate about something. You know, business, the function of a business is to make money. You can be passionate about it. I hope that you are, but also you have to make money in the business. That's the function of it. So rule number one is follow the money. And so you've got to start doing your treasure hunting now. You've got to start doing your homework. One of the things we have our clients doing is a lot of voice of the customer interviews right now, talking to people constantly. The things that we've heard over the last 4 weeks really shocked us in some areas. Not what we would have expected from reading the news. What people will tell you versus what ends up in news articles or on a webinar, two entirely different things. So number one, really voice of the customer, voice of the client. You've got to sit down and start asking people what's happening inside their organizations. Where are they putting energy? Don't ask them where they're spending money, because they don't know a lot of times where the money is going so much as they know where all the time and energy is going. And that's what most, managers, senior managers, directors, senior directors, vice presidents, they're going to know where the time and energy is going. And then you can assume, okay, well, that equates time is money. So ask them that type of question. We have a lot of our clients listening in to webinars on industry associations, participating in those, hosting executive roundtables, virtual, of course. We have to all stay safe, but as many conversations as possible. It really is those conversations where you start to identify trends. And then the next piece of it is to say, well, what of these things that I'm hearing am I feeling most called to help work on or to help solve? I think people overcomplicate it a little bit, Rhett. I think they try to turn it into a science project when it really can be a combination of the voice of the customer and then what you're naturally being called to.
What are some things that individuals can do? I think you were just talking about that, but are there other things, sort of a prep that you can prep to do? I mean, is it building your list or your connections on your network? I mean, really some of the down in the weeds kind of things that you really have to be focused on.
Yeah, I mean, a big one is the network. Most people have so many more connections than they are utilizing in their life. Just this weekend, we were on the phone talking to a friend of ours who's the father of one of our kids' friends. We were on the phone talking to him. Turns out, the role at his company, he changed jobs about 5 months ago. We had no idea what he did at his new role, and it was completely applicable to my business and exactly what we're looking for right now. And we were shocked. And this happens all the time. So number one, really make sure you're building that list. If you are still employed, you want to make sure you're connecting to people in other departments right now. Because those folks, over the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to see a lot of people changing jobs. We're going to see a lot of people moving around. So the more that you can be thoughtful in those connections, because people are going to move around, and now you're going to have relationships inside of a lot more organizations. So that's a really, really important thing to do. The other thing is to start building relationships with centers of influence, primarily industry associations, economic development councils, the travel bureaus and the conference bureaus in every city. They're hurting right now. So now's a really good time to be building a relationship with them, because as soon as events and conferences come back, they're going to do everything they can to reinvigorate that in their city. So these kinds of organizations, if you can sit down and start building those relationships, that's really important, because it creates a one-to-many type relationship for you. Even law firms, accounting firms, any type of organization that has the same target market that you think you're going to have or that you have now, if you can build those relationships and centers of influence and be methodical about it, be obsessive about it. Most people just kind of throw a dart at the wall. They don't really make a list of who their contacts are and ever see it in front of them. And so it's just this sort of haphazard, lazy approach to it versus saying, I really need to see what relationships I have and where I'm deficient in relationships, and then be proactive on a daily basis to build those relationships.
I think that's brilliant. I do the same thing. I have a list, and it's my reach out list every day. And I put 5 people on it, and it's, these are relationships, and I have to if I don't schedule it and put it on my calendar, I don't do it, right? And those relationships, I'm terrible at it. So when I put it on my calendar and I schedule it, and I know who I'm supposed to contact and just reach out to, even with a hi, how are you guys doing? It puts it in front of me every day, and I look at it as business development every day, because I'm not selling these people, but I'm reaching out to them and just maintaining contact, because there will come a time that I do need to reach out for something else.
Yeah, and one of the things I love that you calendar it. We're pretty we're pretty obsessive about that in terms of getting our clients to calendar their 16 hours a week for business development and making sure they're putting the right time in the right places. I think the other thing that folks don't realize they have an opportunity for right now is creating platforms and rooms, if you will, to bring people in your Rolodex together to share ideas. There are no, like I said, there's no playbooks for what's happening right now. So when we're talking to senior leaders inside of organizations, they are largely making it up as they go right now in trying to predict what's going to happen, trying to predict where the economy is going to go, where consumer confidence is going to go, where spending is going to go, where government dollars are going to go, because that has a real trickle down effect. So they're guessing, they're doing all of this guessing. And then meanwhile, they're trying to read the tea leaves of their employees and their customers. And so one of the things that we recommend to folks, especially if you're already a coach or a consultant, you already have a business, even if you're in a completely unrelated field, you could be a signage company or an event company, creating opportunities where those people that were asking you that, Rhett said, 5 a day, that's so brilliant, Rhett, but invite them into experiences, whether it's 45 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, where you're pulling like-minded people together who are struggling with the same types of challenges, and help facilitate those conversations, help them crowdsource solutions. If you've talked to 2 or 3 of your clients and they've all mentioned that they're stressed about X, Y, or Z, go look for what other companies are doing related to X, Y, or Z. If you're writing blog articles or articles on LinkedIn, go interview people who might have solutions to that and bring that back to your target clients. I think where people get stuck, or at least where we see small business owners get stuck so often, is that they feel like they don't know what to say in order to foster those relationships. And so our rule has always been, you bring the value. And I don't mean just sending them newsletters. Please don't do that. They don't need more crap in their inbox to read. But the idea of really bringing together the top 3 solutions that you as the expert have seen organizations, or 3 innovative ideas that you can bring back to those relationships. Those are the kinds of things that change the perception. And when they get that email from you, it's not it's a, wow, this is so helpful. I can take this. This is actionable. I can take this to my team. We can talk about this. We can do something with this information. But really, I will say, of all the senior leaders, that we've been talking to at these companies, some with hundreds of thousands of employees, the problems that they've dealt with, Rhett, are just ridiculous. I'll camouflage this story a little bit so as not to give anything away. But one of the senior leaders that we spoke to had to move tens of thousands of employees home to work from home with just 3 days lead time in a country outside the United States. And they could not procure laptops because IBM and HP and everybody else at this point in time had sold out of their inventories, because everybody was buying up all the laptops to send their workforce home. So they missed the boat. They didn't have the laptops. So they had to move tens of thousands of employees to a home work environment. Most of them did not have internet access at home, but they also now had to move their desktops home, except 90% of their employees went to work every day on a motorcycle. So they now have tens of thousands of employees that they have to have safely, move computers, desktop computers home to their homes on their motorcycles. And they don't have internet access, and they have to solve this in 3 days. Those are when I see problems they've never seen before, that's what I'm talking about. Like, that's a real world example that a senior leader shared with me and said, Angelique, I really, when I was in the process of dealing with this problem, it was surreal. It was surreal that this is what we were trying to figure out how to do.
Oh, no, I mean, I was on a call with the head of Ford and on a group call, and they talked about, we disaster plan. We had a plan for a factory going down here or a fire here, or, they had planned for work stoppages and all kinds of things. Never had they planned for a complete global shutdown.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, you plan, but I think the scale of that was just unbelievable. So talk about a little bit the key right now to landing. If you're a small, medium enterprise or a growing business, what's the key right now with so much turmoil, with so much uncertainty, with the talk of budgets being cut even further? I have my own opinion about this. I grew a business in the last recession, and so I think it's really possible. But what is the key to landing new clients right now? Like, if you're a good existing business and you're thinking, okay, maybe this is a great time to reach out to clients that maybe said no before, right? And maybe that I haven't been able to get in the door with, but maybe right now they'll listen. What's the key to that?
The first is they don't have time to educate you about, what's happening for them. And you really can't miss the mark in being relevant to what's on their to-do list. Too many businesses, salespeople, business development people, marketing people talk in terms of conceptual ideas. And they don't link exactly what they're doing to the to-do list of the people that they're reaching out to. If you aren't using the words that's on their to-do list the moment that you reach out, and you're talking about, so here's an example. One of the words we hear from software providers, tech companies, consultants, is high performance, right? We're going to create high performance. What the hell is, I could use a stronger word there, but what the hell is that? I don't have on my to-do list today, high performance, okay? It's not on my to-do list. So the first thing to just understand is if you're not talking to the exact initiatives that they're working on, so that you can say definitively, if you are going to, in the next 30 days, or you are already working on X, then we need to talk. So it's really about tying it. I don't want you to think about goals, vision. They're in problem solving mode. They're in taking action mode. They're in triage mode. So you have to match your language to what is on their to-do list. Hence why those voice of the customer opportunities like executive roundtables are so powerful, listening into the earnings calls from these companies because they're open to the public, talking to the industry associations, talking to people so you can really match up what's on their list. That's number one. Number two is you have to go higher up in the organization right now. If you are not at the VP level or above in most of these organizations, you're going to be in big trouble because all organizations have said from the top, from the ivory tower, from the C-suite, they've said no spending, no buying, no travel, no. So they're saying that, but it's not actually true. They are buying things, they are investing in things, they are hiring, but they're giving these edicts to the rest of the organization. And so most managers, senior managers inside of companies are like, oh, we can't do anything. That's not really true. You just have to go high enough into the organization where the priorities are being set right now. So that's two. And then number three, you actually have to move faster. One of the things for the last probably 4 or 5 years when I've given keynotes, when we have people come to our conferences, I'm up there on stage going on and on and on about how many decision makers are involved in the process and how this, the decision-making process takes longer and that, they get stuck in analysis paralysis. Well, that all went out the window. So thanks very much. I have to blow up all my slide decks for everything. I'm like, great, blow it all up. But they're making decisions very, very quickly now. And if you don't have control of that conversation, if you're not confident in that conversation, if you're not really asking questions and saying, okay, well, what about this? And what about this? And well, let's problem solve on this issue before it comes up as an issue. If you're not doing those things in sales conversations right now, and you don't know how to have those in the right way, and I know people don't like the term sales conversation, but it is. I mean, that's a good term for it. We all understand what that means. It doesn't mean you're showing up and throwing up in a sales pitch. It means collaboration, but you have to move quickly. If your organization is used to putting together complicated proposals that are going to take 2 or 3 weeks, and then you send it over, and then the client reviews it, and then you have another conference call after that, or maybe they disappear on you, that you have to really pay attention right now, because you need to be able to sit down at a table, work out the details, map out a plan, and be ready to jump on it, because that's the pace that they're moving right now. And most of these corporate teams and leadership teams and their sort of direct reports, they're working 15-hour, 16-hour days. They're exhausted and they're really nervous about what's going to happen over the next 5 months, because they're afraid of a false start and then having to pull back, and a false start and having to pull back. And so they're just trying to make smart decisions and act on them quickly on the things that they feel are certain that they can make a decision on. But yeah, if you don't do those things, if you don't talk to their to-do list, if you don't go up the ladder and you're not ready to move quickly and you put extra steps in the process, then you're really going to have your feet in cement over the next 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, and if you haven't helped them solve some sort of problem that they're having, you're not have a chance.
Yeah. And I would even take it a step further right now, because I think sometimes when people hear those words, Rhett, of solving a problem, they go to this nebulous place of solving a problem. Mm-hmm. And the problems that they're solving by and large right now are very tactical problems. They're very tangible problems. They're very immediate problems. So, they're really things that they need to deal with over the next 3 to 6 months. They're not thinking, how are we solving for this for the next 5 years?
Right. Yeah, that's it. I wanted to kind of go to social here for a second.
Yeah.
MD says digital marketing now very important for business. That's true. No doubt about that. They like your idea of starting conversations. They like my idea of scheduling. Thank you, Fadi. Anne says, is it necessary? She asks, is it necessary to have a logo in the beginning stages? What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's not. In fact, we just taught a list of what you need to have and what you don't need to have. I think that it's a huge mistake the first year to put a lot of money into branding. And I know my branding expert friends are going to have a fit with me saying that, but you really grow into your message, and you really, the book Selling the Invisible has this great quote in it that if you listen carefully enough, your customers will explain your business to you. And so putting a lot of time and energy into branding and logos and fancy websites early on almost always, really almost always turns into a huge waste, because a year into your business, you're going to be really surprised. You'll probably have guessed about 50% accurately about what you're going to do and who your clients are going to be and what they really want from you. And about 50% you're going to get very wrong.
Yeah, I'd say maybe even higher.
Even higher. There you go. Even higher.
Yeah, it's going to. I had a 636-page business plan. It went out the window the first day.
Well, there's a great quote from the military: "No plan survives contact with the enemy." And not that the marketplace is the enemy, not that our clients are the enemy, but no plan survives contact with the cement, basically. We could say it that way. So, anything that you think is going to be true, a portion of it you'll keep, and a lot of it you'll throw out. So yeah, we hate seeing people spend a lot of money. We prefer them to do something very, very simple in the beginning, not put a lot of energy. Really should be putting energy into getting in front of real decision makers and creating conversations with them, whoever those decision makers are, whoever your target client. We focus on that corporate B2B space, but whether it's government, universities, whether it's, small businesses, if you're not in front of them and you're not having conversations, you're really going to miss the mark on what to say and what to do.
Yeah, that's true. And how are you guys pivoting? I know you do a lot of events, a lot of
we do
online. I mean, not only online but in-person events. And how are you pivoting your business?
Yeah, so we moved an event. That was one thing. We had to move the timing of an event, and even that still puts it in the air as to whether we'll be able to do it in person or if we'll have to move 100% virtual. But fortunately, there's solutions for that. So much of what we do, while we love being in person, is so easy to move to Zoom, Skype, Microsoft Teams, phone. So, we were already doing probably 60% virtually anyway. So we did have to move a lot of our mastermind retreats virtual. But, there's been positives to that. Folks have not had to travel for that. They're getting recordings from that. And so, I think we're all willing to do it for a little while. There is something to be said for being in a room with other people and getting out of your work environment. That's really, honestly, Rhett, that's my biggest concern for business owners right now. We tend to solve problems based on our mindset and we solve problems based on our mindset. We make decisions based on our mindset. And so much of our mindset is influenced by our environment and our inertia. And one of the things I worry most for business owners kind of being stuck at home for a year is that they don't get out of their business. I mean, how many times, Rhett, I'm sure this is true for you. I know sometimes the first hour I'm sitting at a conference, I'll be listening to a speaker and I'll be taking notes, and I will get this idea, this moment in my head. It has nothing to do with the speaker necessarily, but I'm out of my office and I'm in the energy of all of these people, and it just has this moment of, where you break through something that you've been stuck with. So that's my biggest concern. I think there's so much value to doing events virtually. It's great. And that's what we've done. We've moved everything virtual. But I do really wish for the day we can all be back in person and get out of our day-to-day environment, because it really helps us problem solve.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Shivam, your questions about decks and funding and seed rounds, I'm happy to sort of address that offline. I think we're gonna, I'll get back to that question with you. I'll engage with you on LinkedIn about that. And another question, where do you place your mastermind in regarding your value ladder? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So our masterminds are about midway in our value ladder. So what we did a couple of years ago, it was the best thing we ever did in our business. We separated out the core training that you have to work with corporate clients and mid-market companies. We took all of that training, that foundation, that sort of like MBA that you need to have if you're going to work with companies. It's all spelled out, and we put that into a virtual online program, and we spaced it so you can get through it in about 6 months, but then you can just stay a part of that community forever. There's an option where you can just stay a part of that community, so you're always having access to Q&A and things like that. But then once you have access to that training, then the next step is, if you want that support on your business specifically, then there's the mastermind options. But we don't ever strategize with anyone privately or in a mastermind if they don't have access to that training, because there is a difference between strategy that's unique to your business and then that fundamental blocking and tackling, those strategies that are going to be a part of your business always. And so we separated that out. So we weren't in the situation where, and I'm sure you guys have all seen those mastermind models where like you're in it for a year, but at the end of the year, that's it, you're done. We got rid of that model. So once you're part of our community, you just stay part of our community, and you always have access as the training evolves, as the market evolves. And then separately, we put that out. And then the higher tier, because you asked where is it in the ladder, the highest is working with people and companies individually, whether that's us going in and doing sales training for a small enterprise, or whether that's me consulting with someone privately, or working with me for a year, what the case may be. But we really separated training, then mastermind, then private. And it has worked out really well. We have a lot of people who come and do the training, they come up, and then they come up and they'll, now they need support on their business. I would really, for anybody in your community who's trying to figure out the whole mastermind model, that has been really game changing for our clients, more so than us. It's been game changing for the client. So that was really, I think, one of our best moves that we ever made in the business. And we've been around for 10 years. So we've done a lot of things. We've done a lot of things.
You've done a few.
We've done a few.
So how can people find that? I mean, I know the corporate agent, that's the business site. Can they find that information about the mastermind and about joining that community?
They can, yeah. So they can, it's corporateagent.com/velocity is the link for that. And then there's also another link that your folks should know, which is the corporateagent.com/influence, which is a toolkit that we have for folks who are really looking to create more influence with these organizations. And I think that's really, you started out this interview asking about the opportunity right now. And aside from the fact that I think it's a great opportunity to start a business, and I love that I too started my first business, by the way, during the recession in 2008, 2009, and it was very successful. But aside from that, I think the big opportunity right now is for influence inside of organizations. They don't have an answer, and so they're looking externally for answers, and they're looking for ideas. And they're in a moment where all the water is stirred up, so they're not afraid to stir more things up. So I think the biggest opportunity of all right now is, if you want to have influence around something that you really care passionately about as a business owner, now is the time to speak up. Now is the time to get a seat at those tables. To me, that's the most important thing. So that's something we talk a lot about, is how do you get influence and gain that influence with those decision makers.
Right. Angelique, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
It's been fantastic. And thank you for spending some time with us today here on the Power Lunch. You can go to the website at powerlunch.live. You can find the schedule. We've got Lisa Norell tomorrow. We've got Hillary Desar on Thursday, Marshall Goldsmith on Friday. And so we'll see you hopefully back for those shows. And until then, stay safe, stay healthy, go out there and work hard and grow that business. We'll see you tomorrow.